I noticed you received a ton of awards, and I mean, you talked a little bit about it, tiny bit about it earlier. Is there anything that any of those that really stand out more than other ones?
Man,
A lot of accolades, awards you've gotten over the years.
yeah, we've gotten a good amount of awards and recognition and stuff. The awards that stand out the most are it. Some people might think it's the outstanding award and outstanding engraving awards and stuff. And those are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take me wrong. The one award that I thought was like super dope was I think it was an '05. Not 05. I forgot what year it was. The city of Odessa, Texas gave me I always fuck up this word, a proclamation award.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty dope because like we would go to Odessa, Texas for the Tejano Super Show out there. And Nick and his crew that do the event, and Nick Hernandez he's badass, dude. He's been around forever, and he acknowledged me, on that. And I've had a couple car clubs that acknowledge me as like my work that I do for their clubs, like USO, Traditionals. I've had oldies, and those are cool. But the one that stands out the most to me is the Odessa, Texas one.
Is Odessa?
Yeah, because to me it was just like, dude, the mayor was there. It was like the whole town city council. Like it was like one of those things where it's like, what the fuck? Like,
right?
Do I really? I probably don't deserve this,
Right. You mentioned USO. I recently had George and Eric Jimenez in here from USO, and they came in and they talked a little bit about what Kita had done and in low riding, and I noticed that you show a lot of support for Kita and USO. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what's your relationship?
Yeah, so
how you began and
so I became, because the guy Mark that was in USO. I kind of knew Eric and George from before that because of the lowrider bike, because Eric used to be involved with lowrider bike. So I've known Eric, since he was a little kid. Almost.
So you guys were kind of doing the lowrider bike thing together at similar time?
Almost about the same time, yeah. And it was a total different era, right? And the whole thing came about that I started hanging out with a guy by the name of Jay Bratton, which was the CEO of USO.
Okay.
And I started traveling with him, and along with traveling with him, I got to travel with Kita.
Very cool.
And this was when I first met Kita. I was like, dude, this Samoan's a big mofo, man. He's like, he's a big boy, man.
Yeah.
Like, and I used to hang around with some Samoans, so I always knew that they always had a lot of love, And,
oh yeah, man.
And then it's just like
family.
Yeah. So with me growing up, it was all about family, and I come from a culture that we kiss on the cheek, and all that, and that's how he was, and I was just like, damn, this is fucking cool, I love the mannerisms of all them. But yeah, so I got to travel a lot. So I got to go, man, I've been with Kita, we went to Kentucky with Jay, Florida, Indianapolis, I think it was, Chicago. Like, we've been around, man.
Yeah.
And the first time, it's fucking kind of funny, the first time I actually met Kita in person and Jay was in Portland, Oregon, when Mark had busted out his car. And, it's crazy. I'm like, oh, well, so where you're from? I'm like, oh, I live in Whittier. They're like, what the fuck? I'm like, oh, we live over that way.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, yeah, I know you guys do. Like, I flew over here to support old boy, because he's busting out his car.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. But even with the bike, all the USO guys would always show a lot of love from the lowrider bike stuff. Eric being one of them, and I think that's what And I've had a car in the club with them. They've also given me an award before I became a member. They gave me like an honorary member award, which I still have in my house hung up.
That's very special.
Yeah, it's very, very special. And at that time, I'm not a cheerleader. They would always ask to be like, hey, you want to put a support shirt? I'm like, no, I won't. And no disrespect, but I'm not a cheerleader.
Yeah.
I'm here to support my customers that are in your club, and I got love for the club because of how Kita was, how Jay was, and a bunch of other guys in the club. And they've had some ups and downs in their club, and the true guys have always been the true guys.
The core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's true shit. You know,
That's
I
real.
got a
It's
lot of
real,
love, man. And, you know, I know kid is going through everything that he's going through. And, you know, real shit is that I got a lot of love for that man, dude. And, you know, that dude's done a lot for a lot of people. And I'm not talking about maybe financially or any of that shit up here in your head. And just the talks, dude. I remember sharing hotel rooms with him and Jay, and he'd be up in the morning ironing his shit, you know, like, and I'd be like, hey, you're already up? Like, yeah, man. He's like, we'd have cool ass conversations. How many people can say that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that's what it hurts to see him the way he is right now.
I understand.
You know? But
I understand. Thank you for sharing that. You know, I mean, that was it. It's good to share that kind of stuff, man. I love hearing that kind of stuff, especially with such positive people who have made such a huge impact on so many lives. And,
hell yeah.
And in the lowriding game, you know what I mean? Especially here in the harbor, man. I mean, you know,
yeah,
big time here.
yeah, for sure.
You know, I also was flipping through your Instagram, and I seen that you had a really good friend of mine, who is also, you know, one half of a very brand that's very close to my heart, the
Right.
working class Cultura.
Yep.
Build Your Dreams. Yeah, him and Ray, Frank and Ray. You know, they're both good
Yep.
friends of mine.
Frank.
What kind of stuff did you get into in class? I mean, I want to know what's involved in the class, so I think that's a good.
That's perfect. When I tell people, okay, so when I do the group sessions, I do them up to multiple of 6 people. I recently stopped having the group sessions. I'm only doing one-on-one sessions because right now there's a bunch of stuff going on in the business that we're in the middle of negotiating a bunch of stuff that it's going to impact 2020, 2021, like majorly.
Exciting.
So, yeah, I'm very hyped about that. But the classes, this is what I tell everybody. So it's a 2-day class. It's 8 to 5. I provide lunch. I actually lose money on these classes. I hate to say that out loud, but it's the truth. Because by the time I buy all the equipment and what people actually pay, it's not enough money to keep it really afloat.
Plus electricity, plus time,
everything else.
plus
my time. You know, I could make more money working the whole weekend or spending the time with my kids and my wife than doing that.
It sounds like, I mean, it really shows what kind of person you are, though, man. You know, that you do that.
So, like, when I start with a class, I have everybody stand up. We're chilling in my office or whatever, in the front office. And I say, all right, before I talk about me, I want you guys to go around and say, what do you do for work? What do you do for work? Where do you live? And why are you interested in engraving? And 90% of the people, they walk around and they're like, hey, I'm so-and-so. I do tattoo work. I have a lot of tattoo artists that I've shown how to do this. And so a lot of guys that are fabricators, like, interested in it, which is awesome, man. I wish I had more time and go learn more cool shit.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, I have them tell their little biopsy of what they are and why. And 90% of people are like, hey, I just want to learn a new art form, which is dope. And then I tell them my little rundown. So half that day, it's a Saturday and Sunday, half of the day on Saturday is literally just talk, the fundamentals of it all, and how I got started and whatnot. Okay. And then I show them how to sharpen their chisels, which is the main part. I tell everybody, like, you don't know how to sharpen the chisel, you ain't gonna do shit. I'm sorry.
You need a sharp tool.
But then again, I've given engravers that have been engraving longer than me the same chisel, the same handpiece, the same everything. Tell them what settings I put it out, and their lines still come out thinner.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of magic to these fingers.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know what, but something. And then, so in that first day, it's pretty much like introduction, talking, sharpening, and then some metal engraving work, some lines. And I always have people do metal engraving lines. lines and lines and lines.
Just lines and lines.
Yeah,
and lines.
and I give them 3 materials. I give them stainless, steel, and aluminum. And I start them off with steel, because if I give you aluminum, you're gonna think it's a cakewalk.
So you give them the toughest?
I'd give them the steel, which is like the middle grade.
Oh, the middle grade.
And like, or what I
Stainless, you
consider-
said is
yeah, stainless is a bitch. Yeah. So people walk in, they're like, "Hey, why is my stainless only 4 inches by 4 inches, and the other metal plates are like 5, 6 inches wide by a foot long?" You know? And I'm like, "Oh, you'll see why. Like, don't trip. Like, you'll get to it." And that's why it's funny, because when I do my classes, I post. I've asked people if I got their permission. You know, I tag them on the post or whatnot.
Oh yeah.
And I'll film people doing the stainless, and some people will be middle fingering and shit, because it's like they suck. They fucking hate it, right? I do too. But anyway, so we tell people line work all the time. Line. I tell everybody, if you can engrave a straight line, you can engrave a curve.
Oh, cool.
Like,
that's
the
really
curve is
interesting.
naturally, if you really think about it, position your hands, and if you go left and right, if you're left-handed or right-handed, where do you naturally want to go? Your hand doesn't naturally want to go straight.
No, it wants to.
It wants a bend. Even when you're going straight, your hand wants to go left and right. And that's one thing I try to emphasize to people is, like, if your line work is good, you'd be all right.
All right.
You know? Now, obviously, it's not going to happen, like, overnight.
Right.
But, like, you'll be all right.
But that's a good indicator that you're on the right track.
Yeah. If your lines, and then your evenness of your lines, how thick, thin, like, you want to try to control that, you know?
Is there a big difference between leather and glass and metal? I mean, is there technique-wise, and is there? I noticed that you do that as well, right?
Yeah. So we offer the laser engraving on that stuff.
Okay.
So I don't mess with the, like, leather tooling. I have a few people that I recommend, like, oh, you want cool leather tooling? Here's this guy.
Is it a similar process as metal if you're going to do it manually or
I know
by hand?
I know on leather it's not.
Okay.
Okay, just depending what type of tool, leather tooling you're doing. Some of it's not. Now there's on the glass, it's glass etching. So, like, some people put stencils down and they sandblast it.
Oh, okay.
And then peel it off. That's one way. Like, back in the day that they used to do the fucking all the lowriders and shit.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So, which still a dope ass art.
I mean, but you're not. Are you getting into that with your?
No, I don't do any of that. I do. So the laser engraving we do offer like metal like this. We offer leather laser engraving. We offer like we've done belts.
Right.
We've done wallets. We've done Bibles.
Okay.
Which are real common, believe it or not. People want to dedicate like the name or something, and we do glass, but mostly on like cups and jars.
Oh, right.
Like right now, we have a cool project coming out. It'll be out hopefully in a few months.
Yeah.
I'm not really allowed to speak on it too much, but it's going to be pretty cool because we're doing some glass that people are going to be thinking it might be actually like sandblasted.
Okay.
But it's actually going to be laser engraved.
Okay.
And it'll be like, oh, what the fuck? I didn't know this fool could do that too. So even though I know how to sandblast on glass, I don't do it.
Oh, okay.
I don't do it. Some guys get the Dremel and get the diamond bit, and they could laser engrave on glass or do leather like that. But no, like, so just for like shits and giggles, my car, my headrest, I took out the headrest, they're leather, and I laser engraved them.
Yeah.
You know, shit like that. Like,
yeah.
Like we do stupid shit like that, we'll do it. You know?
Right.
But people, when they start realizing the level of capabilities that we can do, then we do that, you know?
Is there anything in your opinion that should not be engraved? Like a taboo or like a